The search is on for two detainees who escaped from this ICE detention center in Aurora earlier this week. We told you how it allegedly took hours for ICE to find out the men were missing and even longer to share that news with other agencies, leading to finger pointing between local and federal law enforcement officers. Thanks so much for joining us for Denver7 News at 5. I'm Micah Smith.
And I'm Jessica Porter. Right now, Aurora Police Chief is hosting a press conference where we're unable to bring you that video because of technical issues. Chief Todd Chamberlain telling us the way that ICE handled this made it impossible for the department to help. He says this is not the department's fault and they should not be blamed. And if they were notified properly, they would have assisted in tracking the two men. Denver7's Kristian Lopez spoke with Aurora Police earlier today to get her finger on the pulse.
Now, looking closer, she's going to be talking about APD's involvement or lack thereof and the tensions this escape is creating between agencies.
ICE says the two men escaped from this facility Tuesday night around 10 o'clock at night. They said they notified local law enforcement agencies immediately, but Aurora PD tells us that is not the case.
We take public safety very seriously in Aurora.
Councilwoman Danielle Jurinsky and the Aurora Police Department are disputing claims made by ICE, who say APD refused to assist after these two men, 24-year-old Jalen Vito Romero and 32-year-old Joel Jose Gonzalez, managed to escape the facility Tuesday night.
These men went missing at 9:30 p.m. during a power outage. APD was not called until 2:32 a.m., almost 5 hours after the fact. Really what should have happened is a statewide BOLO should have gone out, and potentially even other states should have been notified.
Jurinsky says she believes ICE failed the proper protocols during the power outage. While ICE wouldn't share what charges the escapees were being held on, Douglas County confirmed late this afternoon one of them was charged with misdemeanor theft and resisting arrest. Jurinsky says the men were being held on civil detainers and not criminal ones.
It is not a secret that there are state laws in place that prevent local law enforcement from working with and cooperating with ICE. So I feel like that was sort of a cheap shot at the men and women of the Aurora Police Department.
Henry Jackson Jr. is a professor of criminal justice and criminology at MSU Denver who worked in corrections for around a decade. He says any escape from a detention facility automatically becomes a felony charge and says it should be on all law enforcement agencies' radars.
My training, when I worked in corrections, you obviously have to catch and detain that person because they're a danger, they're on the run, and if they entered anyone's home, and they could, possibly commit another act that endangers the public who had nothing to do with it.
Which is why we still have so many questions for ICE about why a statewide BOLO wasn't issued. Jackson Jr. also adds that the GEO facility should reevaluate its security measures.
It seems like they also should have had regular human measures in case you have electronic failures. But electronic failures is something that we plan for, we think about, so you should have a backup to that process.
Jurinsky says she has respect for ICE and hopes the city can work alongside them, but says she does not tolerate the blame being put on the Aurora Police Department.
Really, the finger pointing needs to be squarely at the state and the state laws preventing local law enforcement from cooperating with our federal partners.
Aurora Police says they are working with federal partners to determine if the two men have any connection to Aurora. They say once there are criminal warrants out for their arrests, they'll be able to assist with apprehension. Reporting in Aurora, I'm Kristian Lopez, Denver7.
You can find our full reporting on the escape and the timeline of what we know so far right now on Denver7.com. And coming up at 6:30, we'll hear from a former sheriff about how local departments do work with federal agencies on cases like this one.
Going in depth, this is the same ICE facility where immigrant rights advocate Jeanette Vizguerra is being detained. Dozens of people gathered at the Aurora campus in Denver yesterday calling for her to be released. She was arrested outside her job at Target on Monday. Vizguerra's legal team says there has never been a valid removal order against her, but ICE tells us that she does have a final order of deportation by a federal immigration judge and has received legal due process in immigration court. ICE also says Vizguerra has 2 misdemeanors for second-degree forgery and illegally entering the country. Both were over a decade ago. Vizguerra is set to appear in court next Friday.